Hello everyone, I am Chandrakanth Reddy. I had secured All India rank 120 in CSE 2020. And my brief background about me is I had done my graduation from VIT University in Electronics and Communication Engineering in 2017. During at the time of 2017, I was only 20 years of age, so I was unable to give the CSE and at CSE 2017. So I decided to give CSE 2018. I given three attempts subsequently 2018, 19, 20. In my three attempt journey, I had given three mains, two interviews. The initial orientation for me to prepare for the CSC comes during my college times. During the fourth year of my graduation, one of the senior who got selected in the CSC visited my college. I attended his lecture. There I realized the importance of the bureaucracy to the society. So I decided to prepare for the CSC, and I left my campus placements also for preparing for this exam. During my three attempts, my prelim score has been substantially higher. I cleared the forest cutoffs in my three prelims. Some like in 2018, I scored around 115, and in 2019, I scored around similar to 115, only 115 or 117. In 2020, in the recent attempt which I cleared, I scored 127, where the cutoff was 92 marks. I will share the screenshot of it. You can go look at it. The prelims is the important stage where the competition is reduced from 5 lakhs to just 10,000 candidates. So we need to take the prelims very important.
उप्स, इस रुकावट के लिए सॉरी, पर आपकी यूपीएससी की तैयारी में कोई बाधा ना आए, चाहे वो रिसोर्सेस की हो या सही गाइडेंस की। इसके लिए पिछले 5 साल से स्लीपी क्लासेस क्वालिटी कंटेंट प्रोवाइड कर रहा है अफोर्डेबल प्राइसेस पे। यूपीएससी कोचिंग में हमने एक भ्रम को तोड़ा है कि ओल्डेस्ट इज द बेस्ट या महंगा सबसे बेहतर है, और हमारी सैकड़ों सक्सेस स्टोरीज इस बात की गवाह हैं। तो आइए अपनी यूपीएससी की जर्नी शुरू कीजिए हमारे साथ। जुड़िए हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल पे और एनरोल कीजिए यूपीएससी 2022 और 23 के कोर्सेज के लिए हमारी ऐप पर। धन्यवाद।
I had a precise list of books that only I used to revise. I don't go for another books at all. For instance, for polity, I followed the Lakshmikant. For history, I followed the Spectrum publication. For environment, I followed the Shankar IAS environment booklet. And economy, I followed Vivek Singh. Geography, I followed the two NCRTs of 11th class. That is my book list, and I precisely revised those things. Uh, I will share the book list in the description. Coming to the like when one can start preparation for prelims, I think the preparation for prelims and mains are very much integrated because the topics such as the polity, history, economy are repeated in the GS 1, 2, 3 papers of the mains. So we can prepare in a consolidated way. If one has the 1 year timeline, they can start from the June onwards for preparing for the prelims. While preparing for the prelims, the most important step is one has to go through the previous year papers. From previous year papers alone, from 2013 onwards, I had prepared some list of 50-60 topics where the more than 60% of the question paper will be covered from those 50-60 topics. And then when it comes to the importance of test series in the prelims, I followed the Vision 35 test module for the prelims. So when I studied the polity like Lakshmikant, if I revised, I will. There are 5 specific tests for polity in the Vision 35 tests. So I used to write those 5 tests, and then I used to compare my scores, whether it was increasing. If I kept it right answer, I used to go through the solution booklet of them, so that I will get one more point extra, which I would have missed. So the 35 tests which one can do, it can be the any institute. but one has to do one complete test series. So they will get more knowledge which they would not be covered from the traditional textbooks. This is the importance of test series. And then the second important aspect is the important topics one has to devise. For instance, I was very strong in the economics and polity. Every year there are 30 odd questions coming from these two topics. My strategy is very simple, that in these 30 questions I will be attempting all questions, and at least 28 or 29 questions will be correct. So from there only my score will be around 56, 57 marks. So in the remaining 70 questions, I will get hardly around 80 marks. So my score will be around 120, 130 in that range. So once one need to keep in mind that they need to keep their strength areas in the prelims. Like they can take any two subjects. For instance, I taken polity and economics, and some people may have the polity environment, polity science and technology. So they need to decode their own strength areas and need to rigorously prepare on the strength areas. I will mention some of the important topics from various subjects. For instance, in the history, the chronology is very important, from ancient to medieval to modern India, and from ancient also uh, the Indus Valley civilization, Vedic civilization, post-Vedic civilization, Mauryan Empire, Gupta Empire, and finally Harshavardhana ruled. So this chronology one needs to remember. If we remember the chronology, at least 1-2 questions in the history will be solved. So the important topics in the history comes from ancient, medieval in that section. It is Buddhism, Jainism. Every year there is 1 or 2 questions will come from this section. Temple architecture, Indus Valley civilization, Bhakti Sufi movements, Mughal rule, Vijayanagar Empire, and then terminologies from the medieval India is very important. If one needs to get know about the terminologies, they can just Google that important terminologies from Delhi Sultanate. They will get a list of 30, 40 words they can remember before the just before the exam. And then from modern history, the important topics can be the uh, constitutional development acts in the pre-independence era, like 1935 Act, 1919 Act, and then the Gandhian movement such as the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, then Swadeshi movement, then socio-religious reformers, and finally the governor generals and their role in building the Indian economy. Then British impact on education system and administration system of India. And when it comes to the polity, one needs to go through the fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, preamble, federalism features, emergency provisions, parliament, judiciary, local government, constitutional bodies, their appointment and removal process, non-constitutional bodies. So by from these topics only, the majority of the questions are coming in the past 5 to 10 years. So one can trust these topics and can prepare in a holistic fashion. And when it comes to the economy, the monetary policy, banking, fiscal policy, agriculture, new types and processes, new technologies in use, schemes of the government of India, then some macroeconomic fundamentals like GDP, inflation, unemployment, poverty, 5-year plans. Then international institutions and reports. From reports every year, 1 or 2 questions will be coming, like ease of doing business of the World Bank. Then from in the economy session, most of the questions will be from knowledge oriented section. So if one can grasp the how the economy of a country works, so every question can be answered easily without any mugging, any facts and all. And then from environment section, one can see the basics of environment, like what is ecosystem, what is population, what is the species. Then the every year some 2-3 questions will be coming from the important bodies, treaties, conventions in news. And Indian government measures like the to combat climate change, ozone depletion, and to combat the pollution, etc. Then biodiversity conservation, like Archie targets, and then Indian government specific targets. Recently, also Panchamrita targets have been given by India. And then from the geography, the important topics are the map, like world map and India map. In world map, especially the West Asia and Central Asia and Southeast Asia are the very important aspects. From the India map, the political map of India, rivers, lakes in news, these are very important. And then climatology, oceanography are the very important topics. And when it comes to the Indian geography, the Indian monsoon climate, vegetation, soil, agriculture are very important. In science and technology is very dicey part. From the science and technology, one can have one should have the brief knowledge about the latest technologies in news, such as the blockchain technology, cloud computing, fourth industrial revolution technologies like 3D printing, artificial intelligence, then quantum computing. In these technologies, at least they should know the issues in these technologies and the applications of these technologies. Then from miscellaneous perspective, one can go for the international groupings and meetings recently in news, such as the G20, G7 countries.
DKT UPSC CSC। अगर आप केवल सिविल सर्विस परीक्षा के प्रीलिम्स, मेंस और इंटरव्यू के वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं तो सब्सक्राइब करें DKT UPSC CSC चैनल। यहाँ आपको टॉपर्स के वीडियो रैंक के हिसाब से अरेंज मिलेंगे। चैनल के लिंक के लिए डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में जाएं।
If one started their preparation in the June of the preceding year, so one can prepare from the very basics, like starting with the polity, geography, NCRTs, and history. These will give a track to go into the deep preparation. So, and one can join the optional, like if whether one takes the any optional, they can start preparing for the optional from August onwards. From August to December, one can prepare the one round of the optional. So from June onwards, the basic things of the prelims and main syllabus can be covered, and parallelly from August to December, one can prepare the optional. From January onwards, one needs to keep writing the prelims test. Like if one's first attempt, then one needs to give the first attempt at least by 35 tests or 30 tests they need to give before the actual prelims. So from January onwards, if they take every week one test, they can complete the 30 to 35 tests by the May itself. So by preparing from the June, the every topics which I listed important, these things can be completed by December. From January onwards, the topic specific tests can be taken, and one needs to remember that they needs to revise these tests like at least two to three times, so they can remember the content and all. One needs to talk about the note making from the prelims. There are few topics which the note making is necessary. For instance, the data related to the economy, like how the inflation is going or how the inflation is coming down. And the second aspect is in geography, there are certain things like this wind will be blowing in the Alps region, this wind is blowing in the Himalayan region. So this they can make a table, and then they can make that this wind and belongs to this region. So, and then the tribal, like in sometimes prelims, they will give the tribals and they will give the region. So they can make like the tribal on one side and the region belongs to the other side. The other important things for the note making are most of the things in the history are that can be directly underlined in the textbook which one's read. So no need of specific note making for the history aspects. And then for history, one can go through the index of the textbook which they are reading. That will make them to remember the chronology of the events which had occurred in the past. Then when one comes to the science and technology aspect, in science and technology, the note making is very important because there is no standard textbook available. So if one gets to know about any technology, latest technology, they can make a small, like 1/4 page of notes that what is the technology about, and for what purpose the technology is used. So, like the recently one proton therapy news, which is used for the cancer treatment. So they can make that proton therapy, and then it is used for cancer treatment. That's it. And the process how the proton therapy is developed and all is not necessary for the CSC prelims. When it comes to the exam hall strategy, the whatever you read, the exam hall performance is the ultimate key for the selection. So during the exam hall strategy, during the exam hall, first of all, one need not to be panic at all. The There are certain tricks rumoring is there in the market, such as in UPSC prelims, some things like only and then steadily rising, steadily falling. These are wrong. These are generally wrong statements, and data statements are generally wrong. These may work sometimes, and these may not work sometimes. But the ultimate thing is the presence of mind. The presence of mind alone will help them to get good marks. The presence of mind, I will say with an example that in 2020 prelims, there was a question on Kulyavapa and Dronavapa. The meaning of Kulyavapa and Dronavapa. In that, they given the statements like these are the terms to determine the urban measurement of urban land, and these are the terms for the measurement of the land, like that they given. If one can see from the past, if from the history perspective, there is no mention of urbanism or urbanization in the history textbooks. So you can directly eliminate urban land, and you can go for the measurement of the land option. And similarly, there is Rakmabai case of 1885 they given. In that also, they given the statements like Rakmabai case no one would have heard before the prelims. So, but one can answer the question like they given the three statements in that. In that, one is related to women's education, and one is related to the two statements are related to women's marriage. So whenever the two statements are related, if we see the chronology at that time during 1885 and all, there are huge debates going on regarding the marriageable age of a woman. So one can conclude that this is the time of era related to the woman's marriage. So directly they can tick the two options related to the marriage. Like that, the presence of mind will be very much helpful. And in the similar thing, like there is a question on visible light communication. In visible light communication, they given the options like four statements were given, and in the options there are three statements are correct they given. So if you can eliminate any one option, you can get the answer. So the student thinking must be in the reverse oriented, like directly I need to eliminate the one option to get the correct answer, rather than reading about the four statements which are given in the question. So in that way, they can directly solve the question easily. In the prelims exam, some people will attempt the 95 plus questions, and some people will attempt 80 plus questions, but both of them will be selected. The students has to decide in which territory they are falling, like whether they need to attempt 95 plus to get around 120 marks, or 80 plus to get around 120 marks. These things can be known from the mock test which they given previously before the exam. How I will solve the prelims paper in the exam hall. in the exam hall, there are four sets of question papers like A, B, C, D. In one set of paper, you may get the easy questions at the first question itself, and in one set, some difficult question at the first question. So one needs to go through in the first 5 minutes, just a glance through the paper, where they can find the easier set of questions. So they can directly solve first the easier set of questions, and like that they will gain some confidence in the first 15 minutes of the exam. Then they can move to the first question, and they can solve gradually sheet by sheet. So generally I follow three attempt, I will go through the question paper three times. In the first instance, I will take around 1 hour of time, and then I will uh, see all the 100 questions, and I will attempt usually in that time around 50 to 60 questions. And in the second iteration, I will do again 100 questions in 20 minutes of time. In that time, I will attempt around 85 questions. I will attempt. Then I will start bubbling the questions. By 1 hour and 40 or 45 minutes, I would have bubbled the 85 questions. In the remaining 15 minutes time, I will attempt the remaining 10 questions, remaining 10 to 12 questions, which I thought I should give the attempt. So while giving the answer, like while ticking the answer, one needs to remember that if at least one option they eliminated out of the four, they need to go for the attempting the question. If at all they have no idea, then only they should skip the question. If they can eliminate at least one option, they can go for the question, because the cost to benefit is more when you attempt when you attempt 10 questions. If you get 4 questions correct, then you will be ultimately in the positive zone. So one needs to attempt more questions. As I was from engineering background, I didn't prepare well for this CSAT, but I will get very decent enough marks above 100 zone easily. So if one needs to prepare CSAT thoroughly, and then there needs to be no option for getting eliminated in the CSAT, then one can go through the past 4 to 5 CSAT question papers. In that, in the next year also, in the past 4 to 5 question paper, the same models will be repeated with the different numbers. So they can easily attempt the 27 to 28 questions which the examiner is asking. 67 marks they can easily get by seeing the 4 to 5 years old papers. And then from in English passages, they can use the strategy like first they can go through the options, and then they can go through the comprehension, so that they can get to know what the examiner is actually testing in the question. And then most of the options in the English comprehension are self-eliminate, like some options will be like against the India, like this technology is not suitable for India, they will mention like that. Directly you can eliminate that option, and then you can check in the remaining options. And some options are against our constitutional philosophy, so you can directly eliminate. This prelims is going to happen on June 5th of 2022. So I would like to advise the aspirants to prepare well for the coming exam, and to prepare their strength areas. At least 2 strength areas should be there for the prelims exam out of the seven subjects available. So if 2 strength areas, they can get the 20 to 25 to 30 questions correct in those 2. In the remaining subjects, they can easily get some 30 to 35 questions correct. So they would be in the safe zone, and they can go through my topic list, and then they can prepare the important questions from the topics also. And one needs to prepare the important topics very holistically. So all the best for the aspirants. One thing I would like to mention, I forgotten to tell about the current affairs in the prelims. So for from the current affairs perspective for prelims, the major thing one needs to do is daily they need to follow any newspaper they prefer. And the second thing, either they can watch the news like from the Sunset TV or any news channel which is relevant for the CSC exam. And the second thing is one needs to go through the news in a perspective like yesterday what happened and today what happened. Is there any linkage between the yesterday's news and today's news? So this type of self-analysis will help in writing the good mains answer whenever the current affairs question comes in the mains. And the third important aspect is one don't need to worry about reading the monthly magazines. Reading monthly magazines is not at all important for this exam. Like important the thing is one needs to aware of the important news which is happening in the society. And the fourth important aspect is some of the things you will miss in the whole year of preparing for the CSC exam, such as the national parks in news, biodiversity sites in news, animals in news, and some data pointers you would have missed. These things can be covered from the yearly magazines, which the various coaching institutes will release just before the exam. These things can be covered within a 1 day or 2 days, the whole data snippets from there. So thank you everyone